Hey, fans, listeners, and supporters of the podcast. Welcome to the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. Please like, subscribe, and review this podcast on all the major podcast platforms. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget about the website, lifeconvos.com. That's lifeconvos.com. And don't forget to follow the social media pages. You can find them out there, Convos with Anita Santiago on Facebook and Instagram, and AJS1291 on TikTok, and Convos with Anita Santiago on YouTube. What are we talking about today? We're diving into an important issue that deals with connectivity in the digital world. Digital detox. So, we do our smoothies, we do our cleanses, but do we ever do a digital detox? And I found that concept quite interesting because in this world where we are connected in so many different ways, computers, cell phones, all kind of devices, tablets, when do we ever have a time that we're not bombarded with the constant demand of the digital world? And so I was like, well, if an internal cleanse is good, if a detox is good, then I wonder about a digital detox. And I know for me being a grad student, a lot of you guys know I'm in a doctorate program, that I'm constantly online. I'm constantly reading articles. I'm constantly interacting with the school site. Some of my work I do online. I do video calls, and all kind of things. And I feel like most hours of the day I'm connected. And if I'm not connected, I'm looking at my phone. The notifications are going off, or my smartwatch. So, this constant bombardment of being glued to our phones or constantly checking social media, constant push notifications, dings and buzzes, and all the things that get our attention. Um, is there a way for us to step back from that digital bombardment and really get some balance in our lives? So, you all know me. I love research and I love data. So, I went looking around for some statistics about our experiences with digital dependency or digital addiction. There are such things out there. They're not actual diagnoses, but they're problematic sometimes. And so there was an American Psychological Association survey or study that said like 43% of people check their emails, messages, phones, devices constantly. They didn't define what constantly was, but I mean, think about it. If you're in your car and you're listening to music and you've got your phone connected, and now in most cars, they have the text messages coming up on the console so you don't miss a beat. When you go shopping, they want you to download the app and sign up so they can notify you by email of what's going on with that particular brand or that store. And I know I've had to unsubscribe from some things because they're constantly bombarding me with emails. There are some companies out there that are just really ridiculous with that. And again, it's causing your devices to buzz, ding, notify you, and you feel like you have this constant connectivity. So, in thinking about digital detox, I thought about the kiddos and video games. And so, there is an article out there, according to the Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, that said that teenagers spend an average of 9 to 10 hours screen time, daily. I believe that's daily. Um, that might be weekly. I don't know. It didn't really clarify, but this is from American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, teenagers spend an average of 9 hours screen time. They didn't say if that was a day or a week, but I would imagine, it might be a day because a lot of schools are using Chromebooks for students. If they don't finish their homework, they take their Chromebook home. If it's inclement weather, like snowstorm or something, they have their Chromebooks, they have their phones. A lot of teenagers have phones. A lot of teenagers have a Switch, maybe a Nintendo Switch or other gaming device. So I can see those 9 to 10 hours of screen time a day. And then specifically video games. So I said, I wonder if there's some literature out there on specifically what's happening with people spending time on video games. And so I saw an article from Science Direct, and I have links to the articles. So if anybody wants these articles, you can reach me at convoscws@gmail.com, and I'll make sure I can share those links with you. But on the sciencedirect.com website, I looked at an article that talked about how constant video game playing can lead to emotional difficulties, sometimes for children and adults. And so we know that there is, people can be addicted to the internet or to video games, and we would call that a behavioral addiction because just like gambling, it's a behavior. But the important part, scratch that, Martinez. The important part of that is that the constant digital exposure doesn't mean it always does, but may cause problems for our young people and even for adults. I don't know about y'all, but I play Candy Crush a lot, probably more than I want to admit. And I'm not even going to tell y'all I'm on level 4,000 and something. I've been playing Candy Crush for a long time. Also play Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, like daily. So it's not just the kids that are hooked on games. Some people play Monopoly Go, or any of the other fun games that are out there. Bejeweled Dazzle or something, the one with the gems it's kind of like Candy Crush, but it's not candy, it's the gems. My point being is that I don't think any of us are immune from that. And I think that it's so normalized now. We don't really feel like being on our devices so much is problematic. It's just a part of life. And when COVID-19 came around, it really changed our digital exposure because all of a sudden we were in a position where we couldn't socialize, we couldn't go places, and we couldn't do things. And we had to find something to do. We were on Zoom calls, we were on our computers, we were working remotely. And again, it upped our exposure to digital devices and screen time. And so I started looking at the concepts of digital dependence versus digital addiction. Digital dependence versus digital addiction. So, an article from the National Institutes of Health defines digital dependence as a person's persistent inability to regulate digital devices on which they have become highly dependent. So that means that people are not able to manage their exposure to the digital devices that they depend on. They're highly dependent on them. And I know some people who have transitioned from paper to digital. So now you don't have the option of not being connected, because if you need a document, you need that phone, you need that tablet, you need a laptop, you need some kind of device to access what you've created digitally. So this concept of digital dependence has been around for a few years, maybe 20 years or so, maybe a little bit more, 20, 30 years. And so now it's getting a lot of attention in the research community because the digital exposure is so pervasive and it impacts us on a daily basis. Now, that was digital dependence. Digital addiction is more of an umbrella term. It's not a formal diagnosis, but it's an umbrella term that describes addiction to any digital media. Any digital media. You just can't do without it. And there is something, a term that's coming up in the literature called internet addiction disorder. And again, just like gambling, just like other behavioral addictions, you just can't manage, you can't do without it. You have to have the digital exposure all the time. And because it's so integrated into our lives, do we really know the difference between when we're digitally dependent on something versus when we're addicted to something? We may not even realize it's happening because my kids are on their phones, my spouse is on their phones. When I go to my friend's house, they're on their phone and I'm on their phone, and we're casting the YouTube to the television. Everyone's participating, so it doesn't even look or feel like something is wrong. But then sometimes we have this anxiety in our lives and we can't really come down from it, or we're frustrated, or things are happening. And could it be that we have so much digital exposure that it's affecting us in other areas? Now, for every individual, the answer to that question is going to be different. But I think if you start taking inventory of how your days go, how much time you're spending on screen, how much negative news you're consuming, how much polarized political news are you consuming, um, what is the intake? Back in the days of old, when I learned computers, when we didn't even have Windows, so you know how long ago that was. We used to say garbage in, garbage out, because you literally had to type the command codes for everything. So if you typed garbage in your command code, your computer wouldn't work. So there was a saying, garbage in, garbage out. I think that applies here too. Um, Digital dependence versus digital addiction. But let's talk about the other side of that too. You can create a positive digital experience by changing up what you access. So what am I talking about? Anita, what are you talking about? Let me give you an example. So when Facebook first started in 2009 and we all hopped on and we were playing Farmville, anybody remember that? It was great. It was fun. You sent people tokens and lives within the game, but then Facebook started to become a platform for people to express themselves. And one of the things that you hear about social media spaces is, oh, there's so much negativity. There's so much bad stuff out there, so much negativity. And I too felt that way. I felt like, man, there's so much negative stuff going on. I don't even want to get on here. So, as I mentioned in other episodes, you guys know that I've been on a fitness journey for a while and I'm loving it. But one of the things I did with my social media pages is I went through and I started scrubbing and I changed who I followed. I followed people who were doing what I was doing, people who wanted to be more healthy, people who were working out, people who were running, people who were interested in learning about health and healthy food and different things like that. And so as I transitioned my social media spaces, they became more positive. And I think that sometimes we don't realize that there is a power that we have to make our digital experiences very positive. If that's not what we're seeing, we can change who we follow. We can change the pages that we follow. We can change what we consume, which may help us have a more positive experience in digital spaces. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So, digital dependence, digital addiction, we're spending way too much time on our screens. So, how about a digital detox? Well, how long is a digital detox? It can be as long as you want to. It can be a couple of days, it can be 24 hours, it can be a week, it can be a month, it can be 6 months. The point of the detox strategy is to allow you to be able to step back and and detox from the constant bombardment of your digital experiences. So what can a digital detox look like? Well, one way you might want to detox is to turn off your push notifications. I know that most of the apps on my phone, no, I don't need a notification. When I go into the app, it will catch me up on everything that I missed. But some apps like TikTok, like I have 4,000 followers on TikTok. My push notifications were always going off. So I had to turn them off. And that's a simple way that you can um, detox. You can take breaks away from your screen. Close your eyes, rest your eyes if you feel eye strained. Um, just step away, close the laptop, turn the phone off. I mean, turn the screen of the phone off, turn the tablet on its face, and now, you just step away from the screen for a little while. It's kind of hard to do. A lot of people listen to music, audiobooks, but again, the detox can be as long or as short as you want to. It may be an hour, maybe 2 hours. But stepping away from the screen is definitely a way to add to your detox strategy. When you go out or when you're with another person, put your phone face down. Put it face down. And you're not tempted that every time the phone lights or it buzzes or something happens that you have to interrupt the conversation or the experience you're having to see what's going on. Now, those of you that have young kids and different things like that, that's not realistic. But that's not what I'm really talking about. I'm talking about like when you go to hang out with your friend and you're at the table and they're scrolling, and you're trying to have a conversation and they're scrolling on their phone, they're scrolling, and you're like, well, wait, what? Like, are you even here? Be present in the moment. Practice being present in the moment. One of the reasons I started my podcast is because I felt like as a community, we've lost the art of conversation. We've lost our ability to just be present and have meaningful conversations. So when you're with other people, maybe that's something you take note of and put your phone away until you're done with that experience, and then you pick your phone back up. I know a lot of parents do this, but this might be something that you've not thought of. Designate tech-free hours. So from 5 to 7 every day when you do your homework, no tech. No tech. Now that's kind of hard when everything is online, but you might be able to, especially for younger children, you might be able to say, okay, while you're doing your homework, no tablet, or we don't do tablet on the weekdays. You can play your tablet on the weekend or whatever works for your family and you. Make your bedroom a no tech zone. No tech in the bedroom. Now, I've heard, ideas for those of us that miss our alarms and oversleep because we were up playing Candy Crush too late. Put the phone on the other side of the room so you have to actually get up and turn the alarm off. So you get up. Yeah, I'm feeling at that too. So, but you may want to restrict the technology you have in your bedroom, and so that when you are going to sleep, you don't have that blue screen experience. I know there's some research out there that says like the hour before you go to sleep, you should try to refrain from being on any digital device because it may actually make you more aroused, making it harder for you to go to sleep. Of course, physical activity, get out, do a walk, um, do something fun, just getting away from the computer. And for those of us that are in school where we're sitting at a laptop typing a paper and we've got the phone right there and maybe we got the tablet because our research article is on there, maybe limiting yourself to one screen at a time so you're not looking at 3 or 4 screens. I know that's a big thing for me as a student. So that might be another way that you can add to the digital detox. Getting rid of apps and that you don't need. Like how many times have you downloaded an app and you never use it? Because that's going to just keep your digital spaces a little bit more cleaned up, if you know, not as chaotic. That might be a way to add to your digital detox. And I've seen people on Facebook that says, "Hey, I won't be back for 3 months. I'm dipping out, taking a break from social media." That's a little bit more than stepping away for a day or a week or so. That's more of like a long term break. But I've heard that people say it's wonderful. They come back, they feel refreshed, and they're ready to engage, and just having that time to step away from um, being, being bombarded with whatever's going on their digital spaces can be helpful. So those are some things, and full disclosure, those are things that I researched on the internet, ways to build a digital detox. So just like you have the 21-day smoothie cleanse, you might have the 2-hour digital detox or the 7-day digital detox. You can take these ideas and put them together in a way that works for you, that works well for you, and really get to a point where on a regular basis you're better managing your exposure to digital devices, and this feeling of constantly being connected and constantly being bombarded with notifications and information, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. And I think, especially in a day and an age where we have so much misinformation. We have so much information that we don't really know how valid it is. And so sometimes there have been viral stories that have gone on that we later find out that what we thought was true wasn't true, and everybody's up in arms, and it causes a lot of high emotion. And was that even really necessary? And I think we have to be proactive in making sure that when we're talking about our health, we talk about our physical health and our mental health. Well, to me, this is a part of it. To me, this constant digital exposure is an area that we need to monitor and be aware of. Not everybody has digital dependence or digital addiction. Not everyone feels like their digital devices are a problem. But you have to admit that we spend a lot of time on screen. For those of us in the podcast, social media, digital influencer space, you're constantly interacting with digital devices, and you're looking at this, that, and a third. So, yes, we do need to be aware of it. We need to watch for the effect on our kids and people that are close to us. And we need to look for signs of internet addiction where people absolutely cannot do without their devices or their internet or exposure or their games or their video games. So take some time, look at your digital exposure, determine, are you digitally dependent? Can you go an hour without a digital device? Can you go an hour without a digital device? And I know for those that of us that are caregivers or care for young children, you know, you're not always at liberty to not be available. But something I learned on my Android phone, I can turn my phone on do not disturb and let those calls that are critical related to my caregiving duties come through. So I'm reachable for the people that need to reach me. But if I want to step back for a minute, I can utilize the settings in the phone to make sure that for that period of time, I only get those critical calls or those critical texts that I need. That gives me a lot of control over exposure and access, right? So all I'm saying is that this is something I think we don't really think about because it's so normal in our day, but it's definitely something that we need to pay attention to. So as always, So here's my challenge to you. I want you to take some time and I want you to consider doing a digital detox. You get to control the time limit on your detox. You get to control what you put in the detox. But if you feel like you or your children or your family members are getting too much exposure to digital devices, notifications, I'm challenging you. Do a digital detox and see if it helps. See if it helps you feel better. See if it helps um, you break away a little bit. Maybe read a book, write a story, try something new. As always, thank you guys for tuning in to the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. Please like, share, subscribe to the podcast on all the major podcast platforms, podcast social media pages. Check out the website lifeconvos.com and happy listening.